I sat through 5 rounds of the Esparza and Rose title fight at UFC 274, took notes, made some observations on paper, never put a reaction video out. Frankly, I don't even care if people watch this. I wanted to make use of my time in terms of taking notes, making observations about it, having some thoughts on the process, on the really poor corner advice, inconsistent corner advice that Rose was getting, specifically from Pat Barry. I thought it was out of left field. And on some thoughts that I had on the inability to adjust by her coaching staff. Let me real quick. I don't care who they scored as the winner for real. There needs to be more 10-10 rounds. If you don't agree with that, you're just wrong. How do you score round one? It's forcing people to apply a decision to a round where no one deserves to win it. Round one, I had 10-10. Maybe 10-9 Rose if I had to score. If you forced me to score it for someone, but even that, I don't think is best practice at all. You shouldn't be forced to score it for anyone. Obviously, the judges have to score it in that moment. Rose feinted a lot to try to draw the shot or the level change. Esparza did not go for it once in round one. Neat plan. Esparza's plan was to give away round one, but apparently so was Rose's. I think there was like 7 strikes landed in the first round, 4 for Rose and 3 for Esparza. I don't know where they were. Watching it live, it didn't seem like there was more than 2. I cannot give round 2 to Esparza. She attempted one takedown, got the single, Rose circled out quickly, and then nothing. Esparza did nothing. Rose didn't do much more. For real. I would not want, I even wrote this, I said, I do not want to score another round 10-10, but in my opinion, neither fighter did anything. So I don't know how you reward either fighter for not clearly doing anything, for not clearly taking advantage. Me personally, I think there should be more 10-10 rounds. What I would like to see is I'd like to see 2 fighters come out and do even less than Rose and Esparza did. Meaning I'd like to see them stand there for 5 minutes. Who the hell do you score the round for then? To say that every round needs to be scored 10-10 is just not operating in reality. It's not. Now, most judges, 95% of the time, are going to give a 10-9 round in these situations. And that's how you end up with these decisions that are controversial, I guess. To me, it really doesn't matter who won this fight. Rose lost. A weird performance from her. I thought she was apprehensive. Her entrances were poor. She feinted a lot. And she didn't take advantage of, I think, is advantages in pretty much every aspect of mixed martial arts. Rose has the advantages in striking. She has the advantage in length. She has the advantage in diversity of attack. She can switch stances and she can attack. She can lead. She can counter. Esparza's just there. She's just there, stationary. Now, Esparza would try to counter some. So give her credit for being tough. She's a 2-time champion, not running her down. I'm actually criticizing Rose and her coaches more than anything because it was such a difficult fight to sit down and observe. You feel like you have to criticize someone. And I think there was a serious miscalculation on Rose's team's part. And what I mean by that is this. She deflected each takedown, circled out so easily in the first 2.5, 3 rounds. Esparza, to my count, shot for the first 4 takedowns. She maybe got Rose down to the ground for like 5 seconds total before Rose was able to get up so easily that the talent level in grappling was obvious. I don't know why it wasn't an earlier She shot for a BS takedown in the last 12 seconds of round 5 and thought that won her the fight. That's a sign of mental weakness, if you ask me. I don't mean to be critical. I don't mean to not talk about Esparza and not give her credit, but she's just not real talented. She's a UFC champion. Apparently she's getting married in a couple days, so great week for her. She's accomplished a lot. She's beat Rose twice. Wonderful. But it was shocking to me that no one on Rose's team identified, hey, let's put pressure on Esparza. Let's try to take her down. See how she reacts. And we saw that in the 5th round, she shot for that kind of like weird little single leg takedown with like maybe 30 or 40 seconds left, didn't get it, and then she did it again with 10 or 12 seconds left, got the takedown quite easily. My observation to you is, why didn't you do that in the 3rd round? Why didn't you do that in the 4th round? Because nothing was happening striking-wise. She spent minutes on end circling, feinting, maybe offering 1 strike at a time, but there was nothing on entrance that would try to give her the advantage. And here's what I mean. Consistently, she would throw 1 strike. I think she was possibly worried about Esparza either countering or going for a takedown and shooting under when Rose would lead. Here's an idea, and I guess this is just one of those things where MMA striking is still really, really far behind. I'm not sure why there was no corner advice for Rose to throw out a half-assed jab or to throw out or to feint a couple of strikes see what Carla's reaction was going to be. Now, in some cases, when she would faint, Carla would not react at all. Fine. To my knowledge, 80 to 90% of the time, when Rose threw a strike and stayed in Carla's distance, Carla tried to counter. And my point is, the really great strikers, or even the good ones in any sport, they'll throw out a particular strike and then see what Carla's reaction to it is. And then throw that same strike as a lead, but on a half measure, meaning don't try to finish the punch. Elicit the counter from Carla, and then counter her counter. Rose didn't do that enough. She's an incredibly talented fighter. She's got no argument to retain the title, and I don't think Esparza does either, for real. So there are some times where I wish we could still use the pride judging system in moments like this and just declare this fight a draw. Look, Rose is the better striker, better athlete, quicker, better kicker, longer reach, more diverse striker, all of those things. She's the better grappler and still figured out a way to lose. It's probably time for her to remove Pat Barry from her corner. If we want to assign blame to someone, or go to a new team entirely. We've seen this dynamic with fighters and their families, hundreds of times in boxing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes a guy ends up leaving his father as a trainer, guy ends up leaving his uncle as a trainer or whatever, and moving on to someone else, and it makes things better. In this case, Rose, or Pat Barry, is too close to Rose, and his observations in between rounds were not helpful at all, in my opinion. Let me know what you think of my observations. This is certainly an anomaly. I'm not saying that 20% of UFC or high-level MMA fights should be draws. I think this is one of them. I don't think either fighter did enough to really be declared the victor. Of course, the judges' cards are turned in after each round, so it's not like at the end of round 3 they get to go back to round 1 and label it a 10-10, and that's why, in my opinion, there should be more times that it's scored a 10-10. If you cannot sit there immediately and identify someone who you thought won the round, clearly 10-9 or 10-8, and then mentally have some justification for doing so, then you should give some consideration for a 10-10 round. Because the worst thing that could happen is you get to the end of a fight and someone wins a title, or loses their title in this case, and the winner wasn't deserving either.